Okay, it looks like we might be live, just depending on how things are going, but it looks like we are live. And welcome to the channel and welcome to the August live stream. It's a cold and crepuscular morning here, 7 a.m. And everybody do a shout out. Let me know that you can hear me and let me know that where you're watching from, because we've got a lot on the show this time. Bit weird. Bit odd, little bits and pieces of everything, but hopefully this is working. Got the cat father hat on, which is a bit off kilter, but yeah, I'm 2 coffees down, so things are going nicely as far as caffeination's concerned. And let me know as well how the audio is going. And I'm getting crickets at the moment, but that's okay. These things take time. Just coming through now, says Middle-Aged Geeko. Thank you. Got a new backdrop as well. The backdrop there, which is supposed to be something like Shinjuku in Tokyo. But we'll see how that goes. That thing does really well under ultraviolet light as well. Damien says audio fine. Hi, Damien. You again are up crazy early, mate. So thank you for that. Yes, I've got a bit of a movie haul. Hi, Bedhead. How you doing? We've got a bit of a movie haul. We've got a few other bits and pieces to do. No, I know I'm not in the middle of the screen, and that's kind of okay. I don't mind that at all. Hi, FG. So we'll let the screen thing go and just run with things. So how is everybody? Hi, Echo. Yeah, how is everybody? We're doing okay here. Today I'm going to the gym because I've started going back to the gym, and I try to do that regularly. And just getting myself a little bit healthier. Went to the doctor yesterday. Blood pressure's okay. Heart rate's okay. Got the thumbs up all the way, so he's very happy with me. Yeah, so this week I've got some plans. Wednesday's video is going to be a big haul from Imprint Films, a couple of box sets, and a few individual films. Hi, Peter. I am your Cine Sensei. Wax on, wax off, I suppose. But yeah, so big haul from Imprint Films that I got last week, and I haven't had time to watch them all. I kind of overcommitted myself on that one, but I will thoroughly research the movies before I talk about them. So I've got that for Wednesday. I've got some stuff I've got for Saturday, Science Fiction Saturday again, which is going to include going out to the cinema this week. And I'm going down to my favourite boutique cinema, The Sun in Yarraville, and I'm going to have a good time there. Echo says, just watching the closing ceremony of the Olympics from Paris. Are they on? No, just kidding. Not my bag, but a lot of people like them. And, everybody likes the show and everybody likes a little bit of jingoism. But it's not really my thing. I've been watching movies and, to be honest with you, playing computer games as well. And we've got a cat meowing in the background because Luna wants to be let out again because she is an agent of chaos. Hi, Emmy. Yeah, so tons of stuff. I'll get started with the stuff that people have sent me because, oddly enough, every video has a mailing address for me in the description. See you, Echo. Take care. Yeah, maybe I timed this badly with the closing ceremony happening on the Olympics, but we'll run with it and we'll see how we go. Yeah, so I've got a bit of a haul where people have sent me videos. Now, as I said, the address is always in the description of each video. I've got a post box. We've got a post box, and we do that. And got some really wonderful stuff. Now, let me just make sure I'll do these in the order I got them. And it surprised the hell out of me that people have been so nice and generous. Now, maybe contact me on the channel before you send things, unless you're somebody that I know is reliably sending me things I don't have. FG says, I lost interest in the Olympics a long time ago. To be honest with you, I never really had interest in the Olympics. And I'll just drop things, but that's okay. Yeah, I never really had interest in the Olympics. It wasn't my thing. And all the flag waving and nationalism doesn't sit well with me. I'm not that kind of person. Uh, it's really funny because every time somebody mentions how wonderful the Olympic torch relay is, I've got this horrible tendency to remind them that Hitler and the Nazis thought that up in 1936. Really puts a bummer on them. Hi, Dealey, how you doing? So, um, yeah, so basically, and hang on, man, this thing is going mad again, but hopefully it'll stay there. Yeah, Damien, it's just not my thing. And the Olympics originally, from what I understand, individuals were invited to the Olympics, not countries. And then the countries got involved and they made it about the countries. And of course, 1936 being the peak of that, where the Germans kind of went a little bit gaga about it. Middle-aged kid girl says, I get annoyed at the people who gush over the Olympics but completely ignore the Special Olympics. Absolutely. Yeah, the Special Olympics I understand better than I understand the Olympics, because people with disabilities showing that they can do things is kind of powerful social thing. And there are virtues to that I don't necessarily see with the Olympics. I mean, I understand if you're young and you're healthy and you're in peak physical condition, the idea of going somewhere overseas every 4 years and bonking your brains out has a certain attraction. And after that, everybody loves you because you won a little medal. But it's really not my thing. So we're going to put a line under the Olympics for now. Now, Edwin, one of the subscribers to the channel, sent me something from Chester Hill in New South Wales. And I've got to send him back another thing that I promised him. I've only just found it this morning. Yeah, Barry Humphries said sport is the opiate of suburbia. Not just suburbia, inner cities as well. There are so many rich bastards in the inner cities who love the Olympics because they did sport when they went to private school. Apparently there are ads inserted at the moment. But music, cinema, yes. Sport, there. Yeah, I agree, DB Cooper. But, if people want to do it, let them do it. But for me, there's just so many cringe aspects to it that really don't hit for me. So anyway, Edwin in Chester Hill sent me, when I mentioned this movie, Edwin sent me a DVD of the Criterion edition of The 39 Steps, the Alfred Hitchcock movie from the 1930s, 1935. Tons of extras on this. He said he had a couple of copies of it, so he sent me one. Hi, KN. And there's the back of it. Great. I don't mind getting things on DVD when people give them to me, of course, but also I'm trying not to be too kind of format specific with my movies. If I can get something at a reasonable price, in a reasonable quality on DVD, I won't need the Blu-ray unless it's something very special and I want to upgrade the Blu-ray and I've got a few pennies in my pocket. And 4K I love, but 4K isn't my default format. Hugo, hi. Greetings from Cali. I work in the film industry. I'm an old school prop maker. I do like your show. Great stuff. Thank you, Hugo, and thank you for your work you do. I love physical props. I've got friends here in Australia who make them and who are particularly outraged by AI and not necessarily CG, because there's still an art to that. But AI video production is a genuine threat to physical prop makers, though to what extent varies depending on the budget and the people involved, of course. Keith says, man, 12-step programs were really slow back then. Mrs. Talks movies, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, 39 steps. Edwin, thank you very much. If you watch this either now or later, really appreciate the gift. And another one of the subscribers, 39 steps, Keith. Great movie. I really should really watch it again. But hang on, I've got to finish my coffee as well. Cheers, guys. For me, the espresso is the only way to go, unless it's hot and I can get an iced coffee with no sugar in it. Yeah, the 39 steps joke, yeah. KN says, do I think newer DVDs upscale better than the older ones? Picture quality. They can do. The encoders used are different. Older DVDs, they use the encoders they had at the time, and basically it's an algorithm for translating the data into image and sound. And they weren't as good as they are now. And also there were some budget DVD companies that really didn't have great encoders because they weren't available. And so there are some that upscale blockily. But new ones, yeah, absolutely. The things have smoothed out a lot. And the technology for video compression has improved a lot. But anyway, the other thing I got was a box of stuff from Richard and Carol in Dover in the UK, down where the White Cliffs are with the great views of France. And he sent me a box of stuff, which I appreciate. And he's also been lovely enough to say, if there's any stuff in the box that I don't want, I can gift it on or I can pass it on to basically op shops or thrift stores here. And thank you for that. I'll get to the chat in a moment. Hey, there's Carol. Hi, Carol. Thanks a lot. I'm just going to talk about all the stuff you guys sent me. So here is, I'll go through them one at a time. And there's some real bangers here. The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Rusty. So we've got Baby Goose and Rusty in The Nice Guys. Great film. Directed and written by Shane Black. Fantastic dialogue, fantastic action sequences, fantastic corpses. I've got this on Blu-ray already, but I will pass it on to a friend. I'm going to be seeing my couple of friends we're going down to Geelong. I'm going to pass that on in a box set for them. Yeah, we do quote that movie all the time. Middle-aged good girl. It's such a quotable movie, The Nice Guys. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Good action film. Shane Black's action films all the way back to the 1980s have been bangers. Best two for me are Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys. Then I got this movie. Graham Stark, Norman Rossington, John Junkin, with guest stars Peter Sellers, Michael Caine, Bob Monkhouse, Eric Morecambe, Ernie Wise, Tony Blackburn. Simon. Haven't seen this one. It's a comedy film. And I think it's a comedy short, which I know nothing about, but I'm going to check it out. There's the back cover. A lot of these things don't get releases here in Australia. So it's really great to find out they exist for a start and get a copy of that. So really happy with that. Thanks again. Quest for Fire, the Jean-Jacques Arnaud film about the early part of human history. Who's in this one? I think it's Ray Dawn Chong. Yep, Ray Dawn Chong, Everett McGill, Ron Perlman. Gotta love that. I remember seeing it back in the day. And just the best. I'll go through the chat now before I finish this. Some of my older DVDs, says KN, look terrible on my HDTV. I had to upgrade a few to Blu-ray. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the case. D. Lee says boxes of stuff are tight. Absolutely. Ramsar says the best stuff I watched so far are Furiosa and Mad Max Saga and Poker Face Season 1 on Peacock, while also watching a lot of Olympics. Hi, Keith F. How you doing, man? So Carol says, Richard does really well at finding stuff at local charity stores, and I've got to stop this bloody thing from moving. There we go. I'm going to save the best for last on that haul, Carol, because there's just such... The best of it was a real banger for us, and we love it. They also said, Richard and Carol also sent me Reefer Madness, which I didn't have on disc, which is great. Reefer Madness, Marijuana, the Weed from Hell, All of those scary movies, which are actually exploitation films under the cover of being cautionary tales, are great. Extras on the back as well. Fantastic. But yeah, I love Reefer Madness, and I'm going to watch that again. I won't be indulging while I do. I don't have that kind of budget, and it's not legal here, so I would never do anything illegal. But Reefer Madness, fantastic. And then I've got a bunch of Disney things, and I'm not sure whether I'm keeping these or gifting these. Quite a lot of friends who are Disney fans. Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, which is like Milo and Otis with an extra dog in it. And the sequel that nobody ever asked for. Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco. And I've been lost in San Francisco back in 1998, and it was good fun. This one I'm definitely keeping. Treasure Island with Robert Newton. Gotta love Treasure Island with Robert Newton. Who else is in there? Basil Sidney, Bobby Driscoll. Directed by Byron Haskin. I'm keeping that. That's definitely a keeper. Then we got Pollyanna with Hayley Mills. And to be honest with you, that's a freaky cover. That is a dead-eyed freaky cover. And Peter Ustinov, Helen Hayes, Clive Revel, Derek Nimmo, Joan Sims, Bernard Bresslaw. One of our dinosaurs is missing. I'm keeping that one, mostly because it's got a killer cast. Carol says, we're both really chuffed you like what was sent. Richard's having trouble with the chat. The Disney's are my thing. Richard brings me home loads. Well, that's cool. Okay, so they're the Disney ones. And then we get to the pièce de résistance. And this one is going on rotation every December in this household because it's fucking wonderful. Morecambe and Wise Christmas specials. 3 discs of all of the Eric and Ernie Christmas specials. This is a gem. When we were in England 20 years ago, I deliberately drove to Morecambe to see the statue of Eric Morecambe. Fantastic stuff. One of the great comedy teams of all time, Eric and Ernie. If you haven't seen them and you're from somewhere else, check out the Morecambe Wise Christmas specials. They are on YouTube, but resolution varies. This is going into my Christmas rotation with the other Christmas movies. Die Hard, of course. A very Harold and Kumar Christmas. All of that kind of stuff. That is a banger. And Carol, thank you to you and Richard for that. That is just the best. And it makes me very happy. Yep. Eric and Ernie are brilliant, Damien says. FG says, I remember seeing The Incredible Journey as a child as a double feature with Old Yeller. Yeah, Old Yeller was a bit of a bummer. Kean says, a movie where stars are dogs, great idea, save a fortune. Dick Power says, had a few technical issues getting into work tonight, but finally got in to join in. Although I have to work this morning, so we'll probably have to watch the rest on catch-up. Yeah, well, thanks for coming in, Dick. I appreciate that, mate. But yeah, thank you to Richard and Carol for sending those. Totally appreciated, totally blown away by it. And it also gives Middle-Aged Geek Girl something because I get a big box that looks like it's full of DVDs, and she then accuses me of buying things. But yeah, Bartholomew Wiseman, absolutely, David Rayner. And Keith F. says, I actually think Ernie Wise was underappreciated. The best comedy double act us straight men has ever been. Am I often wrong, says Middle-Aged Geek Girl? No, you're not wrong all the time. Yeah, Ernie is underrated. There's a really good essay by Kenneth Tynan, the great English writer, about Eric Morecambe and the genius of Eric Morecambe. It's a beautiful essay. I've got it in a book here, and every now and then I reread it, just because Kenneth Tynan was doing a whole bunch of stuff. He was reviewing posh theatre stuff and upmarket things. And then he did this wonderful essay about Eric Morecambe. Just at the time, this is like the 1970s maybe, underlining the genius of Eric Morecambe and Ernie Wise as a team, but Eric Morecambe's immense physical comedy skills. There's just nothing like it. Carol says, very, very happy, squealing that we got mentioned. Sorry, fangirl moment. You guys are the best. I really love that. And thank you again. It has really touched me. And yeah, I'm going to have a special shelf for important Christmas stuff. I'm not a Christian guy. I'm not that Christmassy, really. But I kind of like the end of the year. There's a sense of New Year's is much better for me. There's a sense of renewal, a sense of really a chance to start again and to fix up stuff at the end of a year. And so I roll it all into that and that sense of optimism for the future, which you've really got to have. You've got to really underline the chance of things getting better in the next year. Otherwise, it's going to do your head in. Dealey says a lot of double acts work because of the straight man. Absolutely, there's Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Dean Martin was a great straight man, and also a really fine actor when he wanted to be. Carol says our Christmas films are Muppet Christmas Carol and the original Star Wars. No idea why. Richard has been introducing me to classic Christmas films the last couple of years. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. What are the classic Christmas films? What I put on? There's Bush Christmas. There's two versions of Bush Christmas, which are Australian Christmas films. The second one had Nicole Kidman in it, but the first one, which is I think from 1948, is pretty good as well. Both kid films. Middle-aged good girl says, now we have Nightmare Before Christmas, Die Hard, and the Morecambe and Wise for Christmas viewing. Absolutely. Evil Pixie 96. A police car has just gone past my house in Morecambe. Eric would say he wants to sell a lot of ice cream going at that speed. Yeah, I forgot you were in Morecambe. Nice little town. I understand that a lot of the seaside towns, particularly on the West Coast, are doing it hard at the moment. I do see some YouTube videos on that. But yeah, I kind of like them. I like the kind of old school coziness of English seaside towns. It just lands for me. Keith says, my favourite Morecambe Wise sketch was the one with Andre Previn. Yeah, that's in that box set. That's in this, the Andre Previn one. And I've seen it on fairly low res on YouTube. And I'm going to love having a DVD quality copy of it and watching it. I might not even wait till December to watch that. I think that it may slip in slightly before that. Middle-aged girl's got Luna, which means Luna's snuggled up on her chest. As she does, she may well jump on me. Who knows? If she does, I will try to continue the live stream. Damien says, our Christmas New Year's Eve is Ernie and Wise, Eric and Ernie, White Christmas without a clue. Yeah, everybody's got their own traditions. And I like that a lot more than a lot of other traditions for the end of the year. But yeah, blown away. Fantastic stuff. Let's see what I've got on my list. Has anybody seen my driving videos? Because I've done 4 videos where I'm fanging around the countryside and just talking to a GoPro strapped to the windshield. Carol says, love watching your travel videos. It's really nice to see the real Oz, not just TV and films. You're going to get more of that, Carol. I've got some plans as springtime comes to do the Great Ocean Road, which is a really scenic road, lots of windy curves, and it's got mountains and the ocean at the same time. Donna Pass Whiskey likes them as well. Carol says, our cat Roxy is sulking as she had her flea stuff on today. Oh, poor Roxy. Give her a pat for us. Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies gives a wave. Yeah, hi. Keith says, yeah, I've seen the driving videos. Nice. So I'm going to be doing more of those. And the Ocean Road is kind of the really interesting one because it is about 60 or 70 kilometres of winding roads. I want to do it in between now and the busy season, which is the end of the year, as summer rolls in. And that one's going to be fun to do. I'm going to use my high-res camera through the windshield. I'm going to wash the car as well. The car needs a bloody wash. Might do it this week. But, yeah, so I'm going to do that and talk about it. Really interesting road, the Ocean Road, because it was built by guys who were World War I veterans who didn't have jobs during the Depression. So they got them to build a coast road down on the west coast of Victoria. Beautiful part of the world, really nice little towns. May stop for a pie, but my favourite windy bit, and I'm looking forward to doing that one because that's going to look really great. Ideally, and I can't do this because of monetization, I'd have on days like these playing while I was doing that, like at the start of the Italian Job with Rosanna Brasi hitting the tractor. I would do that if I was going to not monetize the video, but unfortunately I monetize the video to try to keep body and soul together. And I'm looking forward to doing that one. Maybe a middle-aged good girl will be in the car with me, maybe not. We'll just see how that goes. Damien says, yeah, it's nice to see some places that have changed in my home state of Victoria. Happy to help, Damien. Kane says, I'm surprised how overcast it is on the driving vids. Looks like Ireland for 90% of the year. Yes, the season, winter. Today it's sunny. I'm looking out the window and it's going to be a sunny day today. But sometimes it's pretty shitty here. And the weird thing is, if you just go over the mountains to the north, the tail end of the Great Dividing Range, the climate changes and it's usually sunnier north of the divide, which is about 60 or 70 kilometres north of here. So I may well head out that way for the next driving video. So you give me a good idea there. Peter says, the Leyland Brothers left a big spot to fill. Terry, step up. No, I'm not doing a Leyland Brothers thing. I'm not going to get a tinny and get bogged down on a bush track. That's not how I do it. I cruise around. I stick to roads that at least sometimes have bitumen on them. But there's a lot of things I could show, and I will be doing it. And to be honest with you, it's very cathartic for me to do that. Just, rambling along, driving the places I like to drive to, and just enjoying myself while I do it. It's the weird thing is that filming the videos is low effort. I'm just driving and talking, and that's just like I've got somebody in the passenger seat. So if you're watching the driving videos, you can pretend you're in the passenger seat. The hard part is I have a microphone, I have the camera facing forward, I have the camera facing me. The hard part is getting the computer to synchronize the sound on all three of those. It's time consuming more than it's a hassle, but there is a lot of technical stuff that goes on there, which I enjoy doing, but it's a new challenge. It's something I haven't had to synchronize three inputs to one thing before. Once I got it done, it's great and it snaps into place and I can adjust things as I need to. But I've got these really groovy little mics, which I'll show it to you. I won't put it on, but I'll show it to you. There's the microphone, and it's got a magnetic thing in the back that I put through the shirt so the microphone can just sit there. And these DJI mics, which they're not cheap, but they're not particularly expensive, do a banger job, and you can record on the mic. You don't have to have it hooked up to a camera. And so it runs as its own audio source. And the sound quality on those is just fantastic. Dick Power says, glad you liked the parcel. Took a gamble there was something new amongst the discs not already have. Absolutely. Richard, it was marvellous. And thank you again. We'll be passing a few on, but I won't be doing it to op shops, I think. I'm gonna pass them on to my friend Julia, who likes all sorts of movies. And I think she's shouting us breakfast down in Geelong on the weekend. So I'm going to give her a box of things that I've got. There's some things that it's weird when I get the review copies. Sometimes I've already got the movies, so I always take the copies I've got, and give them to a friend. So I'm passing it on. You're sharing the love. You're moving it on. But I like that. D-Lee says, easy driver. Carol says, we're trying to guess what car you have after spotting it in the video. It is a Toyota RAV4. It's a number of years old now. It's getting towards 8 or 9 years, I think. But it does the job really well. They're sturdy as hell. They're all-wheel drive, so that if we do, for some reason, go somewhere where the roads aren't great. We've got all-wheel drive on it. Great car, tons of room in it. We love it a lot. And it just does the job. Carol says, I'm fascinated with spotting cars and shops AI recognize, but not the other side of the planet. Yeah. I need a clapperboard to sync the audio. Usually just go like that. Yeah, Julia and Craig, Damien, we're meeting up with them, or at least with Julia. I don't know if Craig's going to be there, but we're meeting up with Julia down in Geelong, and we're going to pass it on. Julia and Craig, my friends, have these enormous cats. They're like Maine Coons, and they're like this big. Two big, fluffy boy cats. Mimi says, love your drive along, by the way. Thank you. It's something I wanted to do different on the channel, and there'll always be additional videos. I've got the 3 videos I do each week. So the driving videos are going to be additional ones because they don't hit with as large an audience right at the moment as the other ones. And so I don't want to get a dip in the money I get from YouTube. I'd rather boost it on top of the other things. And so I'm doing it like that. The 4th one's been released to the Patreon supporters, and in about 2 weeks it gets released to the main channel. So there is that. It's down to a place I didn't even know existed until 2 days before I went there, which is kind of magical. And it's not that far from my place, but nobody knows it exists. Damien says, say hi from Heather and myself. Miss them a lot. I will do, mate. Craig and Julia are really good people. And they've supported us in a number of different ways. And it's always great to catch up with them and just have a bit of a chat and a lot of fun. Okay, I'm back on stream, but it doesn't look like anybody's jumped over. Maybe a few people are. But technical glitches, which I hate and which I loathe, and we've had some slightly wobbly internet in the last little bit, but hopefully people will come over and will join this second live stream. I'll just wait for them to do that, and I'll just waffle in the meantime. I've got this thing at the moment where I'm trying to watch one movie a day this year, and I'm about 3 days behind. I've got a little listing telling me how many days it has been since the 1st of January. And according to my letterbox, I'm about 2 or 3 days behind. At the moment, he said, scrolling down his letterbox, I watched 221 movies. We're about 225 days into the year. Yep, part 2, the sequel, absolutely. Thanks for coming over, Evil Pixie 96. Yeah, so I'm trying to do that. So I've got to catch up. Tomorrow I'm going to be watching 2 movies, so it'll be a gradual catch up. But I'm determined to watch 365 movies this year, at least. Going to be a couple of repeats too, because there are a couple of things I've already watched this year, which are coming out from Imprint and Umbrella. So we'll see how that goes. But just give me a shout out if you're watching the live stream so I know that somebody is. And hopefully we'll get the audience back, because technical glitches happen. Hate that they do, but that's it. Middle-aged Google says, not sure how to get people over here as the chat's gone from the first video. Yeah, I had to cancel the first video to get it. There we go, Richard, thank you. And Keith F, thank you. It's slowly coming back. I've got 13 people. So that's good. But yeah, trying to do 365 movies this year, which is great. Carol says, I think we can see the stream. Hopefully, yeah. Our internet's gone a bit dodgy. I may have to, we've got another router, so I may have to put that up at some stage when we don't need the internet for a couple of hours and troubleshoot it, because these internet glitches are starting to happen and they're pissing me off. Because, of course, we live online. We don't have any terrestrial TV, linear TV, so we watch things online. Basically all of our clocks run on the internet. all of our ancillary stuff as well. Dean says, got here late, but there's something crazy going on with bandwidth. Yeah, our internet's gone a little bit shaky. Hopefully it's going to get a little bit better. Oh, middle-aged good girl says she lost her chess goblin. That means Luna. So, yeah, Luna's a bit random early in the morning. And so she'll run in and out of the house as often as possible. Because we don't have a cat door, that requires one of us to get up and let her in and out. Now, there's a possibility she will at some stage jump up on my chest. She's got this habit now of just going boom. Doesn't matter whether I'm sitting upright or whether I'm sitting back. She will jump up and demand that I look after her. The other thing she's been doing, which is kind of weird, is that she's been grooming my beard. Keith says, does that mean I get all wide world news off the interweb? Yeah, I don't get newspapers and things like that. I get it off I get ABC news channels, which are our government broadcaster. Get a little bit of SBS. But for the most part, I go to various websites to do it. And that just is the way it is. Richard says, our Roxy is curled up in her cat tree. Cool. Well, it is. What time is it over there, Richard? It's got to be evening. Yeah, middle-aged girl says, not the dodgy channels I get. Yeah, I don't get commercial TV here. I don't get 7, 9, and 10. The 3 commercial networks here. Because it's all full of sport and people shouting at each other. The show must go on, absolutely. 20 to 11, so it is quite late. So it's totally reasonable for Roxy to curl up on her cat tree this time of night. But yeah, it is starting to warm up a little bit here, and the days are getting a bit longer, so I'm a little bit happier with that. But that's how it is. Yeah, as I said on the other live stream, I haven't been able to keep up with that silly promise I made of watching all the movies I review with the box sets from Umbrella and Imprint before I review them. Because the day after I said that, Imprint sent me 20 movies in 2 box sets and individual films. And that's a lot of time to actually. It's 10 movies, but 20 hours, and it just doesn't, unfortunately, work out that I can watch all the movies. I can research them, I can review the box sets. I will watch some of them and already have, but it's unsustainable for me to watch all of the movies before I review the releases from those 2 companies. Thanks, Damien. Carol's off to bed. Good night, Carol. Take care. Ramsar says, I got everything off the internet, but unfortunately, Spectrum cable and AT&T 5G. But fortunately, Spectrum cable and AT&T 5G. Grantman71 says, cold is miserable, and long I find staying warm becomes annoying at my age of 60. Yeah. This winter particularly has been cold here. The polar vortex around the South Pole is weaker, but that means that the cold air gets pushed further north because of the way meteorology works. So Australia's got hit with a much colder winter than normal, which is that kind of instability in the atmosphere that happens with global warming. And so it's been about 5 degrees centigrade colder than a normal winter here in Australia. Dean says, can I give you your comments on Furiosa? I saw it online and found watching it painful. I'm not in love with Furiosa. I think for me, and this is bias, Mad Max is an Australian story, even though it's got American and English stars in the latest 2 films. For me, it's an innately Australian kind of dystopia and post-apocalyptic thing. And it doesn't hit for me that a character comes in with an American accent. It's that cultural imperialism we got for so many years when a big overseas star had to be part of any large Australian movie. So it doesn't hit for me. I like Anya Taylor-Joy in a number of things, but didn't like her in Furiosa. I think, there were a number of Australian actors in it. It was filmed here in Australia, but it just didn't hit for me. There's something artificial feeling about Furiosa, which didn't land for me. Hi, Mr. Shannonite. Yeah, thank you for coming in. Let's have a look. Ramsar says, "Has Deadpool and Wolverine? I've heard really good, albeit not for kids. Disney is on a roll. Deadpool and Wolverine was fun. It mocked things that needed to mock. It found a way to reintroduce Deadpool and Wolverine to the MCU because Universal had the rights to Wolverine and the X-Men. Was it Universal? I'm not sure. But one of the companies had the rights to it, but now Disney got them back by, it was Fox. Disney got it back by taking over Fox. So they found a good way to integrate that back into the mainstream MCU. So you're going to see more of Wolverine. It was fun. Grantman71 says, any opinion of the Kingsman series? I like Kingsman. I think there's a couple of bits that are a bit icky, like the butt sex thing with the princess in the first one. But I like the Kingsman movies. They're fun. I like Matthew Vaughn's movies in general. I even liked Argyle in a messed up kind of way. So those ones hit for me. I think they're a bit of fun. They're very light. They're very silly. They're very like modern Guy Ritchie movies. If you look at the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare or Operation Fortune, Rudy Gere, two later Guy Ritchie movies. They're very tongue-in-cheek. They're very silly, but they're a lot of fun. FG says, I love the cameos in Deadpool Wolverine. So did I. Please don't spoil them for people. Keith F says, I saw that Avatar 3's in the pipeline. It's going to be called Avatar Crash and Burn or something similar. Yeah, the weird thing is Avatar movies do really well at the box office, and then they drop off a cliff, and nobody thinks about them until the next one comes out. It's like that thing in Men in Black where Will Smith holds up a little pen and the light flashes, and everybody forgets things. The Avatar movies are like that. I think it's basically hentai for James Cameron is what Avatar movies are. Middle-aged geek girl says Dogpool stole the show. Absolutely. And Damien tells us he was born in Carlton and lived in a few places like Broadmeadows and Frankston. Dick says, once our clocks go back to wintertime here in the UK, I'll be able to stick to the live stream till the end. Look forward to it, mate. Thank you. But, the Avatar movies, I've watched them, and I kind of go, yeah, they're very good technically. But there's no emotional engagement in Avatar, which is odd for a movie that takes itself so bloody seriously. Late Night Double Feature Picture Show. Hi, Jerry. Love the channel. There's a horror host on Saturday nights here in New York, Svengoolie. Last night's movie was Vincent Price and the Mad Magician. I've not seen it before. Pretty fun. Yeah, the Mad Magician is fun. I know I've got a copy of it. I think on DVD. I've watched it. But, any Vincent Price movie is at a minimum level fun. Grandma71 says, more support is needed for real guys like you, not AI. Yeah, I don't know what AI and YouTube are going to evolve. But there is a granularity to a real human being. You get all the idiosyncrasies and glitches, and I've got them as much as anybody else. But I like that. I like the kind of, it's like a garage band. It's rough around the edges. It's not done well all the time. But there's passion and there's commitment and there's community. And all of that stuff is incredibly important. And to be honest with you, I get, leaving aside money, which, I get a little bit from YouTube, not as much as some people think. But leaving that aside, there's community, there's communication. I get as much from my audience as my audience gets from me. And I love that. I think that is just so important and so heartwarming. And it got us all through the pandemic. A lot of people hit YouTube during the pandemic lockdowns in various places around the world to keep that sense of engagement and to keep that love of community and love of communication. And I think that stuff is why AI is never going to hit as well as people think it might in YouTube. I think it's a bit of a boondoggle. We'll wait and see. But there's never going to be an AI YouTube presenter as messed up as I am, as kind of idiosyncratic and in some ways crazy as a lot of us. And I take heart in that. Dean says, retro movie question, my take on 1959's On the Beach. Bit of a bummer. And again, it's one of those movies that had a lot of overseas people in the movie. I think it's great that we got it filmed here, and we get to see Melbourne as it was in 1959 in a feature film. It's an important movie in some ways, as a cautionary tale, but I'm ambivalent about it. Damien says, middle-aged geeko, we lived in New South Wales and Liverpool when my sister and brother were born, and 6 months in South Australia. Yeah, I grew up around Liverpool. I grew up in Liverpool, Austral, Cabramatta, Smithfield. Late Night Double Feature Picture Show says, by the way, it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit here in New York currently. Hang on, wait a sec. Alexa, what's 82 degrees Fahrenheit in centigrade?
82 degrees Fahrenheit is about 27.78 degrees Celsius.
27.78 degrees Celsius. That's comfortable for me. I love it when it's that warm. Ian says, On the Beach took the piss out of Australian culture. Sorry about the cough. It did. It looked at us as quaint natives, which always cheeses me off. Indeed, as it does for a lot of Indigenous tribes. Richard says, me and Carol discovered your channel during the first lockdown and have enjoyed it ever since. Yeah, the lockdowns were good to the channel and were good to independent creators, and I stuck through it all the way through, and I learned a lot too. I was on such a wonderful learning curve about how to do this during those lockdowns, and I really appreciate those. Keith says, AI is like everything else. If you can get away with them without employing humans, then life seems as good. To a certain extent, Keith. But I also think there's a value added to a human being. If you've got a handmade suit, it's much better than a machine-made one. There's detail and deep dive durability and granularity to a handmade artifact. And in a sense, my YouTube videos are intensely handmade. Yes, they're digital products. And yes, they are online. And yes, they are 4K and all the rest of it. But at my end of things, they're handmade. I set up the cameras. I do the scripts. I do the editing. I do the uploading. I do the tweaking. I speed ramp when I need to. I do all of those things. And in a digital way, they're very handmade. And AI is not going to give you that, at least for the foreseeable future. And even the things I get wrong, like putting that stupid subscribe thing over here in the last video, which I did to cover up a bit of the couch that was just a blank space. AI is not going to do something that's stupid and that divisive. There's going to be a premium always on human-made things. And sometimes they're going to cost more, or they're going to require more of an audience. But I'm okay with that. Yeah, Damien, I'm not sure we met as kids in New South Wales. Ramsar says, Alien Romulus opens on Friday. No idea if it's any good. They're just retelling the same story, really, aren't they? Those aliens aren't very nuanced villains. You know, they stick their whatever down your throat, they lay an egg, bursts out your chest, becomes a monster, eats people. Doesn't even eat them, just kills them. It's not like we're a food source for that alien. We're just a way of it, where basically the females of that species, in a weird way. There's nothing you can do with that that's going to be at all new. D. Lee says, well, some of us hear AI, we think artificial insemination. Well, you could argue that in a sense it is. Grant says, like your background pic, yeah, my Shinjuku skyline, which I picked up on Temu. It covers up a lot of mess. I've got a few of them now, and I'm going to be getting more of them, I think, because they're dead cheap to get. Yeah, the background is basically a background I got off Temu. It's on cloth, and it's supposed to be probably Shinjuku or Kabukicho in Tokyo. It's got a lot of that feel, though. They do have a whole bunch of different scripts on there, but it's kind of fun. Late night double feature. I'm a big Bigfoot fan. Kick off late watching the original Legend of Boggy Creek night before last. Cheesy docu-fun. The sequel was goofy fun too. Just give me a few moments. My best Bigfoot movie, I just looked it up to get the title, is Willow Creek, the one that Bobcat Goldthwait did as a kind of almost a found footage movie. That one is a banger and a hidden gem. I've got a copy of it on disc, but Willow Creek is the one. Middle-aged Geek Girl says, what new thing can Romulus even offer? It all seems to show his face like a deep throat. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff just doesn't hit. Heather likes out my new background. Thank you, Heather. Bigfoot seems to have a large footprint on YouTube. Oh, Keith, that's bad. Yeah. Yeah, definitely check out Willow Creek when you get a chance to late night. Totally worth it. It's on the shelf. It's under W, Middle-Aged Good Girl. You can get it anytime you like. Directed by Bobcat Goldthwait. He's a great director. He's one of the great unsung auteurs of 21st century American cinema. Ian says, I live where Yowies alive. Live. Never seen one, but I met a bloke who said he did, but his camera battery was flat. Nah, basically, myths and legends, all that kind of thing. Middle-aged Hugo says, I married a shaved down Bigfoot. Just because I have large feet doesn't mean that I'm a cryptid, all right? But yeah, the other movie I was going to mention, and you've got to check out the trailer for this after the live stream, is there's a new Disney version of Snow White, which is part live action and part computer generated. And I've watched the trailer. Gal Gadot plays the evil stepmother, the evil queen. And you've got a young actress playing Snow White and singing all the songs. And all of the dwarves are CG. And they look horrible. They look truly, wonderfully, cringily horrible. And Gal Gadot, who is already wooden, doesn't add to the game. She's one of the biggest bad actresses in cinema. She looks great. She's an attractive woman. She looks great and has a certain presence. But she couldn't act her way out of a parking ticket. It's a really weird thing. Yeah, let's have a look here. D. Lee says, I heard good things about Hundreds of Beavers, which is the next current release I want to see. Supposedly reminiscent of Buster Keaton. Yeah, I've seen the trailer. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I hear good things as well. Keith says, what do I think of the Hammer movie, Abominable Snowman? Nigel Neal's script does a lot with a little, doesn't it? It's a bit of a banger, that one. Peter says, taking my 14-year-old son to see Alien Romulus. Remember watching you Finding Nemo 98 times when he was younger. I'm sure they're very different movies. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably see Alien Romulus, but it's not a movie for which I can generate any enthusiasm. Yeah, it's going to be the usual. Basically, here's the thing, and I mentioned this in the last video. Alien 1979 is a haunted house movie that just happens to be set in outer space. You got a big boogeyman, but it's basically that spaceship's a haunted house. And for some reason, it got really popular. It went really big. Made Sigourney Weaver a star, which is good because she's a fine actress. But there ain't that much meat on the bone. And the sequels, Aliens, kind of worked because it turned it into a gung-ho action film. But yeah, it's one of those franchises that makes you wonder why it is. Damien says, oh God, that Snow White is so awful. It is. Late Night says, when's the next 24-hour film marathon? I thought of trying it. I think we're about the same age. I was wondering if I'd have the stamina. I was thinking of doing another one. I had some health issues, but I've got them under control, and I think I've got the endurance back and the will back to do a 24 at some stage. I haven't discussed this with Middle Age Geek Girl. You brought it up, but I'm thinking the possibility in springtime of doing another 24 because I know I can do it. I know I've got the grunt to do it. It's just a matter of logistically working out. We've got commitments in the house and things like that, and it interrupts us for 2 or 3 days to do a 24 in the middle because I've got to sleep and we've got other things we've got to do. So we'll see how it goes. No promises, but I may have to have a business meeting with the boss to see whether we can do that. Ramsar says, am I on Letterboxd? I will send you the link to my Letterboxd. Just give me a moment. Because I am a river to my people. Here's my Letterboxd in the chat. Evil Pixie says, Snow White is the first movie I remember going to see in the cinema when I was Jewish. What's my first cinema movie? Moving Over Darling with Doris Day and James Garner. I saw that with my mum. We went into the city and saw it together. Dean says, do you use a teleprompter when public speaking? I personally enjoy your non-scripted chat. I don't use it when I'm public speaking. I actually used, hang on, I'll grab it. I printed it out. Well, Middle Age Geek got printed out for me, and that's upside down. And that's the script for the talk I gave because I wanted to make sure everything got in it. I like doing freewheeling stuff, but I don't mind using a teleprompter. I want to get better at doing that because there are times when I want to talk about something about movies, and I want to make sure I get everything out. And I think of a line or I think of a paragraph that will be a real banger. And I've got a teleprompter I can attach to my camera up the back. Not always great with it. Depends on how I'm feeling at the time. But I think it's a skill I want to acquire. And it lets me do videos in a different way. Won't always be that. Most of the time, I've written down some notes, which I never refer to. They're just there to aid my memory. And I talk off the cuff based on that. And yeah, it's there's really weird skills you've got to get to do YouTube. There's editing, there's lighting, there's all sorts of weird things. Damien says, I do mini ones when there's a long weekend. Yeah, you can do a mini marathon. I mean, I may even end up doing like 2 12-hour sessions. I'll just see how it goes with the marathon. Keith F said, what a Blu-ray. I've rarely seen a movie the other day, Girl Hunters, you know it? Yeah, it's Mickey Spillane movie. I think I saw it way back in the day. Mickey Spillane's got no riz when it comes to standing in front of a camera. Late Night says, I think my first movie in theatres was The Sound of Music with my mum. Pretty sure she told me she saw it 11 times in the theatre. Yeah, those big tentpole movies in the 1960s were in cinemas for well over a year at times, particularly here. A big movie like Sound of Music, they just locked it into a cinema for at least a year because the punters would go and see it. That's not fair. Middle-aged Google says, I'll give you the space to do a marathon, but it will cost you a ghost tour attendance. She likes going on ghost tours. But for me, they're boring as hell. You're cold, you're miserable, it's dark, and people are bullshitting about the supernatural while you walk around historic areas. Just do a historical tour. Don't give us the supernatural bullshit. Well, we've done 3 of them so far. We did one in Edinburgh. We did one in Tasmania. We did one here in Melbourne. And they just annoyed me beyond all reasonability. Keith F says, yeah, I saw Girl Hunters, but about 40 years ago. Spillane played Spillane, which is kind of nice. Yeah, but he's got no charisma at all as a front of camera kind of guy. Let's see what I've got on my list. I've got Australia. Who wants Australian movie facts? Because I've got 5 weird facts about Australian cinema, if people want me to do them. And I will wait for a response. I think this is going to be a 4 coffee date as well today. Middle-aged geek, I'll stop being contrary. Keith F says, years ago I did the Jack the Ripper walking around East London. Very cool. David says, my first film was Mary Poppins with a lady next with her daughter. My first film that I saw on my own was Thunderball when I was 8. I saw Mary Poppins at the Metro Theatre in King's Cross. It was a school excursion. Had a great time with it. Yeah, Peter says, yeah, go for it. Dean says, Terry, your scripted performance is better than Gal Gadot's. That's a low bar. That's like saying that I run better than a slug. Richard says, first movie I saw in the cinema was Amazing Spider-Man, the cinema release pilot of Nicholas Hammond TV show. I saw that in the cinema. Weird story. I went to the Hoyt Cinema in Sydney, and we're watching The Amazing Spider-Man on the big screen because it was made a cinema film here too. Halfway through, they stopped the film and evacuated the whole cinema because someone had called in a bomb threat. Didn't get to see the second half for years. They didn't start it again. The session just ended because they evacuated the cinema for a bomb threat. Weird. Australian Movie Fest says, wonderful. How do you people remember your first movies? I have no idea. This is middle-aged geek girl. Well, that's how it is. Anyway, I'm going to give you the Australian movie facts. I've got them on the list here. Movie fact number 1. Australia arguably had the first feature-length movie. It was called Soldiers of the Cross, and it was shown at Melbourne Town Hall, a venue I've been to for comedy festival and stuff. And it was run by the Salvation Army. It was created by the Salvation Army. I'm going to read this. Referred to by the organisation as a lecture, it was a multimedia thing because they didn't have reels long enough to have feature films on. So it combined 13 short films, over 200 glass slides, hymns, music, and a narration. Now, it's been claimed that it's the first feature film, but it can also be accurately regarded as a first big work of multimedia. But in a broad sense, it was probably the first feature film because it was feature length. It would combine a whole bunch of short films. And it really hit well with audiences because people were just over music halls, I suppose. There's my first fact. Second fact is Australia created the first double bill movie in 1911. On the 15th of May 1911, the Glaciarium Cinema here in Melbourne played the first known double feature in film history. The Australian film The Lost Chord from 1911 was the A picture. It was supported by an Italian film, The Fall of Troy. So we created the double feature, which is a format I totally love. Go back to chat. Okay, but yeah, next one. 1948. The chief censor of Australia, J.O. Alexander, imposed a ban on all horror films in 1948. Outside of film festivals, which had an exemption, horror films were not shown in Australia until the ban was lifted in 1968. Now, that's a little bit odd, and I'll explain why. For a start, it was messed up. It was stupid to do. Secondly, I think they exempted science fiction because I remember before 1968, there were a lot of science fiction movies which could be considered horror films that were shown on TV. Things like It, the Terror from Beyond Space, It Came from Beneath the Sea, all of those films. Maybe they slid under the radar as parts of syndication packages that the TV studios got. But officially, in cinemas, no horror films until 1968. Messed up idea. Going to have a sip of water. Now, Australia was really big in the early years of cinema. And I'm going to do a video at some stage about why that ended. But between 1952 and 1966, 14 years where cinema was hitting big everywhere, the Australian film industry produced an average of 2 films per year, including overseas co-productions. In the years from 1960 to 1966, only 7 feature films were made in Australia. 7 films in 6 years. Now, the interesting thing about that is, while long-form drama reached its lowest ebb, so we weren't doing feature films, there was this big boom in the production of corporate and government-sponsored short films. In 1961 to 1962, there were 610 short films made. And a lot of Australian filmmakers learned their job by making these short films, mostly for the government, about the cities and about life in Australia. And a lot of them were documentary short films. Some of them there were some short films based on Australian short stories. But the short films of the 60s in particular were where a lot of the people who were big in the 70s and 80s learned their craft. So Ausploitation directly benefited from government support of small film. Now, the last fact I've got for you, the last Hammer horror film was directed by an Australian. Peter Sykes, an expatriate Australian director, directed 1976's To the Devil a Daughter, which was adapted from a Dennis Wheatley novel that had Richard Widmark, Christopher Lee, and Nastasia Kinski. And the interesting thing is, even though there were a bunch of Australian actors who turned up in Hammer horror films, particularly Charles Tingwell, Bud Tingwell, and Ray Barrett, the last Hammer horror film was directed by an Australian. So there's just a few little facts for you. Going back to the chat, I'm going to have a drink of water first. Let's have a look. Late Night Double Feature says, am I a fan of Waking Fright? Yeah, absolutely. I've got 2 copies of it. One on Blu-ray and also a DVD with a lot of extras that I picked up at an op shop. D. Lee says, The Sentimental Bloke was a huge Australian hit in the silent era. He saw the restoration of the film festival years ago with live music. There were 2 versions of the Sentimental Bloke, both starring the same guy, Arthur Torchett. It was made as a silent film. It was also made as a sound film in the very early days of sound films. Keith F. says, can you remember the first movie you saw that scared the hell out of you? I don't know how old I was. I wasn't that old. It's a movie called The Psychopath, an English horror film from the 1960s I saw in the cinema. And it was scary as hell. It starred, I think Patrick Wymark was in it, and John Standing. I've got a copy of it now. Creepy as hell movie. Peter says, one of the reasons my father came to Australia from Greece in '68 was because of the short film about Australia that he saw in his local cinema in Athens. There were a lot of those. There were a lot of short films that were distributed across Europe, extolling the virtues of living in Australia. It was really to encourage migration. And the Australian government film business did a lot of these, and the Australian Film and Sound Archive has preserved a lot of them, and they show up on YouTube. The National Film and Sound Archive, the NFSA, has its own YouTube channel, and a lot of those films are available now. I'm sure they were subtitled or dubbed in Greek for Greece, but you can still find the films online if you look around. DB Cooper says, hi from warm and sunny Portland, Oregon. Sitting in the car with our new kitty while my wife grabs something from the store. I travelled through Portland. I took the train from San Francisco to Seattle once. And Portland looked really groovy with all the bridges and stuff like that. But we only went through there on our way to Seattle. When I say we, me and the train. I travelled by myself then. But yeah, a groovy town, I hear. Great food culture, which is a big plus with me. Damien says, remember when Channel O transmission went down, would show a slide of Carlos Frankenstein with the scene from him and a little girl playing with flowers with music of classical gas or MacArthur Park or both. Yeah. I like that back in the day when there wasn't the automatic replacement of things when things went down on TV and you'd get the card come up. Old school TV was like, I should do that on a video where I put up a, technical difficulties card for the channel. Richard, all the best to you and Sally. Off to bed myself. We'll watch the rest of the live stream and get some later. Have a great rest of the evening. Thanks a lot, Richard, and really all the best to you and Carol. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for the generosity, mate. Dean says, Terry, I've been watching border security on YouTube here in the US. Is Australian authorities that draconian, or is it just Seven Network's attitude towards foreigners? Border security is racist. I saw some the other day when I was at the Outlaws place. Border security is, Kerry Stokes is the guy who owns Channel 7. He's a billionaire. He's, and everything that entails. There are no good billionaires, let's be honest. And border security there is what we call, and I've been researching this, I've got this rabbit hole I've gone down, called stochastic terrorism. Now, stochastic terrorism is the subtle things that people in power do to create an environment where xenophobia can thrive or acts of terrorism can occur. It's dog whistling, it's propaganda stuff. It's all of the things they can do legally and keeping their hands clean, which encourage an environment of hatred for the other. And Kerry Stokes and Channel 7 do that with border security. It's not typical of Australia. It's something that many, many, many Australians hate and loathe. But he's got a TV network. He's powerful. Border security is the worst aspect of our country. Keith F. says, my early scary movie memory, I would have been about 8, and the movie was probably Night of the Demon or City of the Dead. Both scared the crap out of me. I can understand why. We were differently sensitized in those days because we didn't see Saw movies when we were kids. The level of things that scared us was different. Ian says, Paulette McDonald was an early Australian director. She did some enjoyable movies, yeah. D. Lee says, stochastic terrorism is a topic Keith Eiberman likes to discuss on his podcast. Yeah, I think it's a concept that we need to be more aware of. And the interesting thing, and I've noticed this, in the American election stuff, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, is it Tim Walz? Walz, her running mate, are running contrary to stochastic terrorism. Trump's rhetoric is full of stochastic terrorism. And they're running a successful contrary thing, which is optimistic and utopian and kind and generous and open and honest as well. And I think they found the trick of combating stochastic terrorism with heart and optimism. And it's interesting watching these two different ideas, the dog whistling of stochastic terrorism and optimism and hope for the future, going to war with each other. And to be honest, there are a lot of people who are responding to the optimism and the openness of an ideology which is directly opposed to whatever ideology Trump has. Late night double feature. A lot of that type of border security stuff here in the US too. The nature of our politics in this country is scarier to me than it's ever been. I can understand that and I respect it. It's worrying, particularly given the fact that America is a big ally of Australia and there are American bases here and all that kind of thing. It's genuinely scary, but I think that there is a movement starting to happen running contrary to that. And I hope so too, because we need it. Everywhere we need it. We need that kind of optimism. We need that kind of honesty. We need to combat messages that are designed to cower the masses. And a lot of that stuff is. Peter says, Curse of the Faceless Man 1958 made me an 11-year-old insomniac. Yeah, I mean, I had that with Psycho. I saw it in the cinema when I was like 15. Had baths, but I didn't have a shower for a couple of months. Yeah, horror movies are fun. And one of the things is, I'm going to go deep in personal stuff here. I was raised in an physically abusive environment. And for me, things like horror movies and roller coasters and things like that were training for dealing with real world things that scared me. So if I could steel myself and not be terrified by a horror movie or by a roller coaster, I could use that approach to better handle a lot of the brutality in my real life. So I have a very weird relationship with horror movies. Late night double feature. I agree with your assessment on the positive movement gaining momentum. Thank you. Damien McGee says, ending of The Man with X-Ray Eyes in seconds were scary. Absolutely, they were. I saw Seconds on TV, I think it was, back in the day. And like with The Wicker Man, you get to think, how is he going to get out of this? And he doesn't. And that just hits harder because the narrative and the culture of movies was, in some way, the hero gets out of it. But The Wicker Man and Seconds say, no, that's not the case. And I love that. Ken says, I have to admit I've been fascinated by American politics for the last few years. You couldn't make it up. Loads of crazy characters who want to believe their own versions of reality. I think there are also some people who are cynically realizing, well, J.D. Vance being the example. The money is in, saying what the rich people want you to say. And Vance in particular is doing that. So there are the carpetbaggers as well as the mad demagogues. He says, I couldn't sleep after I first saw The Haunting. One of the best scary movies I've seen. Yeah, it builds up an atmosphere in a beautiful way. And it does it really well in the acting and the sound design too. Just hit and land that. Ramazan said, the first movie that both scared and informed me was Mondo Carne, which was the original shockumentary. And a lot of it was faked as well. Mondo Carne and Mondo movies are fascinating. And there are any number of them. And they got people to narrate them, like Peter Ustinov and Boris Karloff narrated, I think, Mondo Belordo. And that just makes it even better that you get somebody with a bit of gravitas to narrate these weird pseudo-documentaries. So what else has anybody else been watching? Have I seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? It's up on YouTube. Nah, the new Planet of the Apes movies depress me. And I've got this weird thing too now, where dystopias happen and where, we get rugged dystopias suddenly happening in that. I liked them a lot better when I was younger and I thought I could survive that kind of apocalypse. But now that I'm older and I know that I'm not going to survive the scenario presented to me on the screen, I'm less in love with them because it's all about me. So I've got that weird headspace with a lot of these films, and I haven't watched the new ones. Technically, they look great. I've seen enough of the footage to know that they're evocative, and Weta Workshop in particular does just banger work on the special effects, but I haven't seen it. Late double feature. I have a strong memory of the weekly Saturday night horror movies shown on Creature Figures, showing The Crawling Eye when I was 7, being terrified of those eyeball monsters. Yeah, I mean, that one works. I like the tentacle eyeball monster in that. And the idea of monsters taking hold in the Swiss Alps. All of that stuff's just groovy. Late night double features. Has been working my way through the Eurocrypto Christopher Lee collection of late. They're both good. Both of the collections are great. I haven't watched the second one. I've got the second one. I went out on a limb and spent the money to buy the second Eurocrypto Christopher Lee box set, but I haven't had time to go through it yet. But the first one I liked. Lots of weird and wonderful outliers in the career of Christopher Lee. Dean says, my first scary movie was X the Unknown, with Dean Jagger, which is kind of like a pseudo Quatermass movie. And that worked well as well. I like that one. KN says, I always wanted Dawn of the Planet of the Apes recently. Very good. Usually prefer the original run of films, but I was impressed. Yeah, it's good. DB Cuba says, the third vignette in Trilogy of Terror was good. Got me good as a kid. Which one was that? What story was that? Ian says, I've been watching some early Sidney Franklin movies recently. Who's Sidney Franklin? Not familiar with him. Let me have a look at this. Yeah, I think it's Sidney Franklin, the director, rather than the bullfighter. So silent movie era and into the sound era. Did the Barretts of Wimpole Street and things like that. Cool. It's always good when you go on a deep dive in something obscure. Peter says, saw The Stranger, Orson Welles, Loretta Young, Edward G. Robinson last night. Now in love with Loretta Young. When I was a kid, there was a TV show which was from the 50s, but I saw it in the 60s, called A Letter to Loretta, with Loretta Young in it. And she'd read a fake letter, and then there'd be like a short play about the events in the letter with Loretta Young starring in the short play. It was a really weird format for TV. Kayan says, I watched Killer Moons 1978 on YouTube. Pretty bad with some what the fuck lines of in it. What's the third one? The Zuni Fetish one? Let me have a look here. It might have been the Zuni Fetish shop one. It'd have to be. Yeah. Keith Evans says, watch Food of the Gods first time recently. No, I didn't like it. Rubbish. Yeah, but it's entertaining rubbish. And it's got Ida Lupino in it. What's not to love? Mr. D.S. Genzi says, what's the original Blob eating Maltesers in my neighbours when I was 8? Not eating my sausage roll after the deadly spawn. Having weird thoughts about beans after aliens. Evil Pixie says, the thing that scared me were the goddamn flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Yeah, Demon Fetish, the Zuni Fetish doll. I've got a Zuni Fetish doll here. It broke, unfortunately. I've got to do repair work on it. But I've got like a full-size Zuni Fetish doll. I should make a project of fixing that, and I can bring it on the channel. I've got it sitting in a box here, just knocking on the box. So I may have to borrow some glue and other things from Middle-Aged Geek Girls Crafting to get my Zuni fetish doll. Yeah, she did fix it once for me already, middle-aged girl. I'm told my Blu-ray of The Sorcerers will be delivered tomorrow. Really good movie, that, with Boris Karloff and Ian Ogilvy. Yeah, great film. Davis has been watching Japanese Message from Space with Sonny Chiba and Vic Morrow. Yeah, that's weird. And the animated film Scuba. Cool. Keith says, I saw the Mousetrap, my one-word review, avoid. Okay. Late Night says, thinking of watching the Vinegar Syndrome release of Reptilius. Never seen the Danish version. Yeah. I'm tempted by that Vinegar Syndrome one if I can find a copy of it, because it's hard to get Vinegar Syndrome here. But the copies of Reptilicus I've seen have been pretty shitty, because the prints they struck them from were pretty shitty. But yeah, I'm really I may have to add that to a list at some stage. Yeah, Ida Lupino is great, but not in that movie. Yeah, I think it may be in the last feature film. But Ida Lupino I love. Have a look at this. Got my Ida Lupino t-shirt on. But yeah, best Ida Lupino movie, Roadhouse, the original 1948 Roadhouse. She's fantastic in that film. Let's have a look. How we doing for time? Yeah, thank you, Keith. Yeah, I've got another one with Samuel Fuller on it as well. Anthony, hi, would I consider watching the new Ultimate Cut of Caligula? Malcolm McDowell seems to have a favourable opinion. I think I'm getting sent a copy of that by Umbrella. I've ordered it as a review copy, and I will watch it, because I saw the Australian original Caligula with all of the hardcore taken out of it. But I will watch this one and just see how it goes. But yeah, a weird movie with a weird production, let's say. Peter O'Toole and Helen Mirren and Malcolm McDowell. And then Guccione comes in and adds a whole bunch of rather more spicy inserts, and I use the word inserts deliberately, into the film. But yeah, I'll watch it. I haven't got a copy of Caligula at the moment, so I'll definitely watch and check out that one. I know there are a lot of great extras in that version of Caligula, which I'll be interesting to do. Keith Evans says, get his t-shirt with Robert Wise on. Nah, I don't like Robert Wise that much. Late Night Double Feature says, yeah, loving the releases from Umbrella and Imprint. They are doing world-class stuff, and the extras are great. The packaging of the videos is great. And I've got a whole bunch of Imprint that I've got to review, including the Harvey Keitel box set. Favorite genre film? There's so many good ones. Anything with Mario Bava is great. I'm just going to find the one I'm thinking of, because it's still early in the morning. Just give me a moment. Let's see. I'm just getting a list up here. I think Blood and Black Lace is my favorite genre, with directed by Mario Bava. Blood and Black Lace is fantastic. I'm just going to look it up to make sure. Even my spelling's going to crap here. Yeah, that one is terrific. 1964, let's see, Eva Bartok, Cameron Mitchell. It's got a really weird start to it too, so I'd go with Blood and Black Lace. John Hurt was Caligula in I, Claudius. Brilliant performance for me. Interesting thing about I, Claudius too is watch the camera movements in I, Claudius. There are some really great camera movements where the camera moves with characters and then moves on with other characters. The direction on that is fantastic. Late Night Double Feature says, I ordered the 2 volumes of exploitation sets. Yeah, I watched the videos. I watched the movies in the first one. And the second one coming out is more obscurities. And the quality of the prints on those is fantastic. And the extras are all on point. I think Umbrella is doing such a fantastic job with Australian cinema. Remember, I said last month I watched the White Queen from 2013 and the White Princess 2017, which is during the Wars of the Roses. Fascinating stuff I had to read up to connect the dots. Cool. D. Lee says, I've seen the Danish version of Reptilicus. The bits where the monster throws up on everyone aren't exactly state-of-the-art special effects, but they're a lot of fun. They don't have to be state-of-the-art. They just have to be engaging. D.B. Cooper says, just finished Quentin Tarantino's book. Yeah, I've got it here and I'm dipping into it now and then. And it's really great. In fact, I've got it down. It's on the floor here. Just let me duck out of frame for a sec. Cinema Speculation. Nice chunky bugger too. It's just like Quentin Tarantino having a conversation with you. And I really like that one. Late Night Double Feature says Blood and Black Glace is all-time favourite. Yeah, absolutely. And so does KN. Damien says, interested in seeing the Italian version of Planet of the Vampires. Yeah, that might be fun. Paul, hi from Geneva, Illinois. I just happened to be watching Blood and Black Glace on YouTube last night. Terrific. Yeah, that start as well is just different, and it gives you a mood. And the saturated colours, it's sumptuous. I love Blood and Black Glace. Captain Lazy says, I've just watched U571 with Harvey Keitel playing a completely different character he usually does. Looking forward to your Harvey Keitel box set review. So am I. I'm not sure what I'm going to say yet, but I will. It's got really weird things like the Bad Lieutenant in it, which is great. I've got the second Bad Lieutenant movie with Nick Cage in it, but I've seen the first one, but I haven't had a copy of it until now. And it is just totally over the top. Delia says, Claudius is often cited as an object lesson in blocking scenes for the camera. Absolutely. It's a masterclass in that. It does it so well because the sets were so small that they use the blocking incredibly creatively to give a sense of space. I just love that stuff. Dean says, how did middle-aged geek girl and I get together? I pulled a thorn out of her paw. No, seriously. We met in the online chat groups like in 2001. We were chatting in an online chat group about things and it evolved and we met and we fell in love and we got together and all of that stuff happened. Mr. D.S. Genzi, I have nightmares after Jaws and Spookies. Head in a box and boat. Yeah, Jaws was pretty confronting when I first saw it. I saw it at the I think Winter Garden Cinema in Sydney in Double Bay in the posh areas. Had to go there to see it. Ken says, Claudius, is that similar to Pompeii? Yeah, but with less Frankie Howard. Claudius is so excellent. So is the first season of Rome. Haven't seen Rome, but a lot of people have. Yeah, middle-aged kid girl filling in the details of the relationship. We're doing fine. We've been together for, 23 years now? We did. We moved in together. Well, you moved into my flat. And the rest is history. It's like every relationship. There were rough patches and there were good patches. And we eventually meshed and helped each other deal with our demons. It really is a love story. And Luna, we went to the dog's home to get a cat, and there were two kittens in the box. And Luna's the one that came up to explore and see who these people were. She was the kitten with curiosity. So we got her, and we've loved her ever since. Keith says, I have an Ed Wood movie queued up on my cable system, Night of the Ghouls. Never heard of it, but we'll watch it soon. Night of the Ghouls is bad, good. Damien says, I think Imprint, Viavision and Umbrella are doing great work with the releases, getting some of the network releases of UK TV. Yeah, network died, and particularly Imprint is picking that up with the things like the Prisoner box set and the ones for the Baron and things like that. They're really doing interesting work. Middle-aged Geeko says, Luna was adopted as Jack died, and we didn't want our other cat, Jill, to be alone. Yeah. Jill was just wandering around the house looking for another cat, and particularly Jack, because Jack had been with Luna since she was a kitten. And it was kind of important that we got another cat. And to be honest with you, Luna, being a much younger cat, keeps Jill young. Jill's 13, 14 now. Dean says, do I think the Blade franchise will be revived? They're having a lot of problems with the production of Blade in Marvel. They've had about 3 or 4 directors. They've had endless writers. But that doesn't mean it's not going to succeed. If you look at the history of things like Iron Man and other things like that, and Hulk, a lot of that stuff had production hell problems. And then when they finally got all the ducks lined up and hit, I don't know yet. I know very little about what it's going to be like and what it's going to be about and how they're going to approach it. But I'll check it out and we'll see. And I'm willing to understand that if it does get off the ground, and they haven't started filming it yet, the Blade movie with Mahershala Ali could work. But it's just a matter of when. Yeah, Jill, not Luna, sorry. Yeah, but yeah, we got a happy little household here. D. Lee says, I was at a film and comic fair today when they were discussing Imprint picking up TV series that Network had remastered before it shut up. Yeah, they do. It's a shame that Network did. I got a number of good Network series. Some deep cuts that I've had to get in the second-hand market, but nobody was buying them, so I got them cheaply. Damien says, Heather got Leela and Spike, didn't want Samantha to be alone too because Samantha's 13 years old now. Yeah, we do tend to look after our pets, and pets need other pets, I think. Solo pets tend to get needy on the humans, and yeah, it's okay that they do. But I think having another of their species in the house helps animals thrive. Keith says, I'm a fond of knowledge on, Terry, you're a fond of knowledge on movies, TVs, the highways of Victoria. But do I have an interest in old-time radio? There's some brilliant stuff there. I've seen a whole bunch of it. I heard a whole bunch of it. But you can only go down so many rabbit holes. I do have friends who've got a lot of old-time radio or in the old-time radio community. And there is a fan community for old-time radio. But it's not a format I particularly, I'm going to sit back a bit so I'm more in frame. It's not a community that I've been a part of, but I respect it and I'm glad that it's being preserved. Peter says, am I familiar with 90s British TV series Dropped to Dead Donkey? Rewatched it and laughed my head off. Yeah, is that Armando Iannucci? I think it is. Yeah, a lot of those series really hit. And satirically, they are sharp as knives. This is, I'm watching Undermine, a 65 science fiction series. That Network release, there was a bit of invasion of the Body Snatchers vibe. I'll have to look that up. I'm going to make a note of it. Undermined. I've got a whole bunch of shit on this desk. Thanks for the tip. But yeah, so much good stuff coming out soon. And there's so much stuff I'm looking forward to. Like Imprint are doing my favorite all-time sports movie, Banning, in Blu-ray. And the only previous version was from Umbrella. And it's in pan and scan because they got it off a TV print. But they're doing it on 4K. I'm looking forward to that. Middle-aged Geek Girl says, I will say one sucky thing about being with Terry. I've grown so much as a person in 23 years together. I've discovered a lot about myself, and he encouraged me to follow my passions. I do, because you underestimate yourself way too much. And that's part of what we do. We lift our partners and our loved ones. And thank you for saying that. Speaking of dead people, I think the Walking Dead franchise is out of gas? I saw the first episode, never watched it after that. Again, it's that dystopian bummer thing. I'm sure it's done very well. I'm sure it's hit for a lot of people. But I know Middle-Aged Geek Girl, she may well want to talk to that. But for me, didn't want to follow it up any more than that. D. says, Drop the Dead Donkey was Andy Hamilton and Guy Jenkins rather than Iannucci. The surviving cast reunited for a stage version recently, which is okay. Yep. Middle-aged Google says, never finished The Walking Dead. Okay. But, yeah, there seem to be a lot of kind of sequels and child series, not child by I mean, spin-off series of The Walking Dead. The comics I hear are really good. I haven't read them yet. But I hear the original comic versions are really fantastic and were game changers for that genre. Dean Johnson said, okay, what are my feelings about a quality reboot of The Prisoner? There was the one with Jim Caviezel and Ian McKellen, which I've got a copy of, but I haven't watched. Don't need to reboot it, bottom line. Let it be what it is. Let it be a shiny little gem of 1960s television. The only reason that anybody would reboot something like The Prisoner is because they think they can make money out of it. It's not because there's any dire need to do it. There's not a technical thing they need to fix in it. It's unnecessary. Damien says, I hated Outlander. I saw the first episode of Walking Dead 2, left it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff coming out. You've really got to curate what you watch. And if something doesn't hit you in the first few episodes, you're not obliged to complete it. There's not a gun at your head. Middle-aged geek girl, if I could ask a favour, could you bring me a bottle of water, please? Keith says, much as I dislike sequels, I don't care for reboots either. Yeah, I think some reboots can work. But I think motivation is a really big thing in the sense that why are they doing it? If you did a reboot or a reimagining of Babylon 5, I can understand that Babylon 5, the special effects and technologies at the time were rudimentary, and the kind of capricious nature of the networks that were running it. Thank you. Mean that the story wasn't told as well as Straczynski wanted it to be. I'd be big in favour of doing a new thing set in the Babylon 5 universe because it's such a granular and textured universe. I want to see more of it. Mr. D says, one more for Drop the Dead Donkey, been recording off Rewind TV. Joy rule. Absolutely. Drop the Dead Donkey is great. And I love things that satirize social and institutional things that erupt themselves, like Drop the Dead Donkey and all of those series that just tore the skin off pomposity. But it says, best reboot ever was Battlestar Galactica. The original was dreadful, even by 80 standards. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica was created because television wanted its own Star Wars. And they got somebody who knew nothing about science fiction to do it. But on the other hand, Star Wars was made by somebody who knew nothing about science fiction. D. Lee says, I actually saw a box set of the revived version of The Prisoner at the fair I was at this afternoon. Didn't trouble my wallet. There's only one prisoner. I got my copy from an op shop for $1 or $2, so I helped charity. But don't know if I'm going to watch it. Battlestar Galactica, didn't like it, even the reboot. It's just a retelling of Exodus. Disney's all about sequels and reboots. Always have been. they pinched intellectual properties like Pinocchio and Snow White from public domain sources to get their stuff. And now, because early Disney is falling into public domain, they're pissed off that Steamboat Willie is now public domain and people are making Steamboat Willie horror movies and things like that. But I'm there for that kind of stuff. Wait a few years when Superman in the original incarnation and Batman hit public domain. Then you're going to see some interesting stuff. That's happening in about 6 to 8 years. There's going to be a lot of people making Superman movies, a lot of people making Batman movies. 6 to 8 years from now, special effects technology on desktop computers like this one are going to be even better. And people are going to make mind-blowing movies out of those particular intellectual properties. Keith says, in the same vein as Drop Dead Hungry was Hot Metal. Peter, thank you very much, mate, for the super chat. Appreciate it. We will go and we'll put that towards a breakfast for me and middle-aged geek girl. Thank you, mate. I appreciate the support of the channel. Let's see. Hot Metal. I haven't seen Hot Metal. Let me just do a quick Google on Hot Metal. British sitcom 86 to 88. So Robert Hardy, Jeffrey Palmer, and John Gordon Sinclair. Okay, cool. Written by Andrew Marsh and David Renwick. 12 episodes. I'll have to look that one up. I'll keep the tab open so that I can look that one up later. Peter says, make sure you both have some Vegemite. Maybe not Vegemite, but we can have that here. Ramsar said, in the 70s you used to watch Two Ronnies, Morecambe and Wise, and The Goodies. Yeah, Morecambe and Wise. Love Morecambe and Wise. Unreasonably the best. Yeah, we went for breakfast the other day, and it was great. We tried a new cafe down in Altona, and I got the chili scrambled eggs because I like a bit of chili, and they had a sausage with it, which was pork and fennel. It was lovely. I love pork and fennel sausages, and going out for breakfast is really cool. And not having the obligations of a 9-to-5 job, it is nice to occasionally say, you want to go out for breakfast? Yes, we've got to stay within budget because it's not cheap to go out for breakfast now. But it is nice to just hit a cafe, get a fresh coffee made by somebody else, not by me, and just looking at the menu and finding a good breakfast. And if you're in Australia and in Melbourne, Berserk Cafe in Altona does a really good breakfast. Dean says, Terry, what's the main difference between Australia and New Zealand? Well, one's much littler and is off to the right. New Zealand's its own culture. It integrates Indigenous culture much, much more than Australia has so far. I love New Zealand. Beautiful country, wild, wonderful landscapes, really nice people. I like New Zealanders a lot. I've been there twice. Middle-aged geek girl and I have been there once together. And New Zealand is very simpatico to Australia, though whenever we have a Conservative government, the Conservative government usually pisses across the Tasman Sea on New Zealand and puts in policies that disadvantage New Zealand. But I love it. I like the people there. It's much more accepting and embracing of strong females in public life and in culture as well. And yeah, New Zealand is in some ways what Australia should be, were we not so enthralled with conservative demagogues like Rupert Murdoch. We honeymooned in New Zealand. Hot Metal was Richard Wilson's job, Marshall and Rennie before One Foot in the Grave. Cool. Not seen all of season 11 of Walking Dead, says Mr. DSN. Two left of the ones who lived. Daryl Dixon just started a couple of weeks ago, and Dead City is at the end of the month. Stop, please. I can't watch them at the same time. Yeah, I mean, they will really milk the cash cow until it becomes beef jerky. You sell the jerky and complain about the bones. That's how it works with franchises. So we're heading into the last 6 minutes of the live stream. The second half of the live stream, of course. Evil Pixie 96 says, as a Brit, I will say New Zealand wildlife is not out to kill you. I don't know. They used to have moas and they used to have enormous eagles, but they killed them off. Castellar Daniel Garcia says, Mr. Frost with Jeff Goldblum was a good horror film. Okay. Damien says, I think New Zealand made my cinema experience when I lived there during the 70s. Yeah, New Zealand's a fun place. I would love to go back there. Ideally, if we were able to afford it, a good holiday for middle-aged geek girl and I would be 2 weeks in New Zealand, 2 weeks in Japan, and back home. I think that'd be a lot of fun. The Forgotten One from 1989 with Terry O'Quinn is a good ghost film. Okay, thank you. But yeah, travel is great. Keith says, in England, a town of Battle where the Battle of Hastings took place, there's a butcher shop called 1066 Butcher Shop. They sell Battle Bangers, the best sausage I've ever tasted. Nice. I love a good butcher shop where they make their own sausages. It's never not a bad thing. Independent butchers. I really should try the independent butcher shops we've got in Werribee in the main road, Watton Street, because there are a couple of them. They look kind of fun. Mr. Diaz says that handover was as smooth as an American relay runner on the on the bottle of water. Middle-aged geek will get me. We are coordinated in odd ways. Late night double feature. The 3 episodes into the imprint box set of Prisoner. I had it on DVD, but the Blu-ray is far superior. Great show. And the extras too, getting another disc with some episodes of Danger Man really hit. I think they did well with that box set. I've got their box set of all of Danger Man on DVD as well. Delia says, Liverpool, the UK one, is a bit of a no-go for Murdoch's media because of Hillsborough. It's a city where the sun never shines. Yeah, I understand that, and rightly so. The sooner we get rid of Murdoch here in Australia, the better. I think one of the things, which a couple of other jurisdictions around the world are trying, is having truth in political discussions, particularly during election campaigns, making it illegal for candidates to tell lies in political campaigns would be a game changer for every democracy. Middle-aged girl says, my dad is from Liverpool. Yeah, he is. Good old Peter. Dean Johnson says, the one thrift store you gravitate towards for your physical media halls, you've got to go to a whole bunch of different ones. You never know what's going to be at any one op shop. And it's a matter of just prowling around and wading through a lot of Judd Apatow movies to find an occasional good thing. It's like panning for gold. You never know how much gravel you're going to get and how many nuggets. Not one in particular. You just got to cover the waterfront. Later double feature. Don't have the complete Danger Man. I need to locate it. It's on Viavision's website. Middle-aged geek guy says you can sort of guess depending on the suburb. Yeah, posh suburbs have eclectic things and sometimes better things. And I think middle-aged geek girl and I are planning another op shop hunt for things she wants for her hobbies and crafts, and things I want as well. Late night double feature says, no lies, Trump will be silenced forever. Yeah, and real-time fact-checking, I think, particularly in debates, is important as well. Have a chime at the bottom of the screen with the fact-checking while the debates are going on. That in itself would be a game changer. Anthony Diggle says, at this moment, I'm going through the 30-minute episodes of Danger Man. Really entertaining. Magoon is superb. He is. He's got an intensity about him and a focus on his acting, which draws the audience in so many ways. There's a lot of craft there. And, of course, it's based on stage work that he did in his early career. But, yeah, that intensity and that focus, just snap. Damien, take care. Have a great day, mate. Thanks for being a part of this. Really appreciate it. And hi to Heather. D. says, I also have Scouse parentage. Yeah, middle-aged good girl does. I don't. I've got Welsh and Yorkshire. Dean says, you two have a wonderful breakfast. We had breakfast already. We're going to save it towards another day's breakfast, I think. Keith says, does anyone remember the Prisoner episode that didn't feature McGill as number 6? Haven't watched them lately. I really should watch them all, binge all 17. But I haven't at this stage. And it's time to end the live stream. It is 9 o'clock. We really must knock that naughty clock that says it's time to go. It goes so fast, our time has passed, but we must end our show, which is the Magic Circle Club thing. Anyway, thanks very much to everybody for being part of this. Special thanks to Middle-Aged Geek Girl for being as wonderful as she always is. Nigel Stock was number 6. Never understood why this was. It's just great. Yep, thanks a lot, people, and really have to get going. And next time, same time next month. Catch you later.